The Midnight Viewing. I work at a small family-owned funeral home in West Virginia, tucked away in a quiet mountain town. It's not a busy place, but it's been in my family for generations, and we've always taken pride in offering dignity to the deceased and comfort to the grieving. One night, around 11:30 p.m., I got a phone call. It was a woman named Mrs. Cartwright. She said she wanted to view her recently deceased husband's body, claiming it was urgent. She just needed to see him one last time. I politely explained that viewings are only held during scheduled hours and not in the middle of the night, but she insisted. She said she didn't want to come back in the morning because she was planning to drive out of state and couldn't attend the funeral. She sounded elderly and desperate. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at midnight. I arrived a few minutes early, turned on the front lights, and wheeled the body of Mr. Cartwright from the refrigeration room into the viewing area. I'd just finished adjusting his suit and fixing the lighting when I heard the front door creak open. A cold draft followed. I walked over, expecting to greet her, but no one was there. I stepped outside. The gravel driveway was empty. No cars, no sound, just the wind whispering through the trees. I chalked it up to nerves and headed back inside, locking the door behind me. That's when I heard a whisper from the viewing room. "Thank you." I froze. I knew I was alone. Cautiously, I approached the casket. Mr. Cartwright's face was still, but then I noticed. The position of his hands had changed. They were now resting over his stomach, fingers interlocked. I had placed them crossed over his chest. I was certain of it. I stood there, heart pounding, trying to convince myself I'd misremembered. Then the lights flickered, all of them. A deep, hollow groan echoed from the embalming room down the hall. At that point, I didn't care if it was my mind playing tricks or something else. I went to grab my keys and leave. Just as I turned to go, the front door creaked open again. This time, a figure stood in the doorway, an old woman, wearing a long black coat and veil. "Mrs. Cartwright?" I called. She nodded silently, stepped inside, and walked straight to the viewing room. I followed her, still shaken. She stood over the casket for about a minute, not saying a word. Then she whispered, "You're free now, Harold." She turned and walked out. As she reached the door, I noticed something chilling. Her feet made no sound on the wooden floor. When I got outside, she was gone. Again, no car. No footprints in the frost. The next morning, I looked up the Cartwright family records. Mrs. Evelyn Cartwright had died in 2009, over 15 years ago. The man in the freezer. When I was 25, I started my job as a funeral home assistant at a modern facility in Arizona. My tasks ranged from cleaning to helping with prep work for services. It wasn't glamorous, but I needed the money. One of my duties was checking the refrigeration units every evening before I left. We had a walk-in cooler with 4 stainless steel compartments. Bodies would be stored there until embalming or cremation. One night, during a particularly slow week, we had only one body in storage, a homeless man who died of heat stroke. No ID, no family. The paperwork listed him as John Doe. That evening, I went to check the cooler. I stepped in, shivering slightly from the cold. I checked the clipboard. Compartment 3, John Doe. When I opened the door, I felt off. The light inside the unit flickered, and I got this strong feeling I was being watched. I leaned in to check the tag on his toe and noticed something weird. His eyes were slightly open. I'd seen a lot of bodies, and I knew sometimes the muscles don't fully relax. But there was something about his gaze. It felt like he was looking through me. I closed the compartment quickly and got out. The next morning, our embalmer, David, was furious. He said someone had moved the body. John Doe had somehow shifted positions, like someone had tried to sit him up, but failed. We reviewed the CCTV footage. Between midnight and 3 a.m., the camera pointed at the cooler showed static. Just those hours, nothing before, nothing after. David joked it was probably a prank by old spirits and laughed it off. I didn't laugh. 2 nights later, I was alone in the facility, doing some late paperwork. Around 2 a.m., I heard a loud bang from the back. I ran toward the cooler and found the door to compartment 3 wide open. Inside, the body was gone. Panicking, I searched the room. Then I saw him, John Doe, sitting upright against the far wall, eyes wide open, mouth agape in a silent scream. I screamed and bolted. I called David and refused to go back inside. The police arrived, ruled it a mechanical failure with the locking mechanism and muscle contraction from decomposition. They moved the body to another facility. But I'll never forget his expression, like he had seen something so horrifying in death that it shocked him awake, just long enough to show me. Ashes in the attic. My aunt passed away in 2017 and left behind an old Victorian house in upstate New York. My cousin was supposed to handle the estate but asked me to check the attic. There were rumors that our great-grandfather, a funeral director during the 1940s, used to store overflow bodies during harsh winters when the ground was too frozen to bury. I thought it was just family folklore, until I opened the attic door. The air was thick with dust and something else, something metallic and sour. As I climbed up, the weak bulb cast long shadows across antique furniture and old wooden trunks. In the corner I found a stack of boxes labeled with dates, each from the 1940s. Inside were small ceramic urns, some cracked, others perfectly sealed. No names, no tags, just years etched in chalk. I called the local funeral records office. Nothing matched. No one knew who these ashes belonged to. That night, while staying at the house, I kept hearing soft footsteps above me, pacing, slow, deliberate. I told myself it was rats. The second night, the sound changed. It wasn't footsteps, it was dragging, like someone pulling something heavy across the floor. Around 2:30 a.m., I went upstairs. The attic door was open. I hadn't touched it that day. When I stepped inside, I saw a single urn in the center of the floor. It hadn't been there before. I reached down to pick it up and noticed something that froze me. Fingerprints in the dust. But not mine. Child-sized. I left the house the next morning. Weeks later, I found a letter buried in one of the trunks. It was written by my great-grandfather. It confessed that during WW2, due to supply shortages and a severe winter, he had cremated bodies unofficially, sometimes without consent, and stored them to deal with later. Some were never properly identified or buried. He ended the letter with this: "I pray their souls forgive me, though I don't think they ever will. They walk these halls at night, and I hear them every winter." But I'll never forget his expression, like he had seen something so horrifying in death that it shocked him awake, just long enough to show me.